What's up, you guys? In today's video, I'm going to walk you through the Meta Ads Manager as it is today, March 16th, 2026, and I'm going to highlight some of the most important features that I think you should know about. I'm going to walk through setting up a campaign so you can see from start to finish all the little settings, and I'm going to explain all of them, what they do, and the ones you should keep on, the ones you should consider turning off. And this is more tailored towards beginners and maybe intermediate folks, but I think you guys will get a lot out of it. Basically looking into the ads manager through the eyes of somebody who does this all day, every day for many years. If you're looking to improve your meta ad skills, specifically around creative strategy, copywriting, and media buying, then you need to check out Meta Ads Mastery. This is a group of serious advertisers where you can get daily support from seasoned advertisers who are actually in the ads manager every single day. You can post a question and within a few hours get an in-depth Loom video response from a seasoned advertiser who's in the ads manager every single day. You also get access to 3 weekly live calls where we're discussing the absolute latest that is working across all the ad accounts that we manage. You also get access to my course, which outlines my entire process from A to Z, from market research to creative strategy, copywriting, and elite media buying. And not only that, you can network with a ton of amazing entrepreneurs from around the world. So if that interests you, click the link in the description of this video and I'll see you inside. All right, you guys, let's jump into it. So I'm gonna just walk through the ads manager a bit. I'm gonna set up a campaign. I'm going to explain to you all the most important settings and things that I think matter for you. So number one is making sure you have your columns set up in an appropriate way. So if you're doing e-commerce, then you obviously need to be tracking metrics like your cost per result, your ROAS, maybe your average order value, adds to carts, initiate checkouts, and things like that. And if you're doing lead gen, then it's going to be more like, complete registration or submit application or leads, cost per lead, and metrics like that. So in order to do that, you got to click here on columns, then click custom. And then basically you just click and choose the different metrics that you want. And they appear over here on the right column. And then you can move these up and down. And the farther up it is on this column, the more to the left it is over on the actual ads manager. So I'm just going to scroll through this quickly so you can see kind of how I have mine set up. And if you want to copy mine, you're more than welcome. This is a great setup for e-commerce. If you're doing lead gen, then you don't need any of the like adds to carts or ROAS or anything like that, but everything else applies. No initiate checkout either. Cool. So make sure that your columns are all set up. Next is the breakdown tool. It's just super useful to break down your results by, say, like age, for example. You can see kind of where you're getting your results, and even country. If you're advertising in multiple countries, you can check your placements and see where Meta is serving your ads. And then don't forget about breaking down by audience segments. So if you go to demographics and then audience segments, you can break down to see how much you are spending on, say, new audiences versus engaged audiences versus existing customers. It's really key to know, like, how much are these cold traffic campaigns doing? How much retargeting are they doing? So that's something really useful. You can also break down, if you go, say, to the ad level, you can also break down by dynamic creative element. So you can actually go here, dynamic creative element, and see which headlines, which primary texts are actually working for you. I just need to expand the time frame here to actually see some data. But you can see here, some of these are showing up. Oh, this is a brand new one. Hold on. Let me restart that one. Another cool feature is you can, put a check mark and then go to breakdown, and you can go to dynamic creative element and see the texts that are working for you, the different primary texts that are working, different headlines, and that's really useful to start narrowing down on the messaging that's really working for you. So that's just something pretty key to know. And a new feature that just, I think came out not that long ago, is going to be this conditional formatting. So if you click on columns and then conditional formatting, you can actually set up rules here. So this is a digital product client. Their break-even return on ad spend is 1x. So I can simply make rules here. So if anything is below a 1x or below break-even, I can make it red. If something is above, say, 1.7x ROAS, that would be considered really good for me. So I could have it as green, and then anything in the middle, I can set it to, yellow. but you can actually set these up to be all different metrics. So if you want to set up a color scheme based on your amount spent or your CPA or your cost per result, or any of these other metrics, you can do that, and it helps make the ad account more visually easy to understand, and you might be able to make decisions easier and faster. So I think those are some really key features there. A few more, obviously, is the calendar feature. The main time frames that we make decisions off of is going to be the last 7 days. However, we do look at, say, maximum for the full story, 30 days for a longer story, 14 days for a more recent but still kind of longer time frame, 7 days we make our decisions, last 3 days for the trajectory of where this thing is heading, yesterday for recent results, and then today for where is it at right now. So I will look at all those different time frames, but then really primarily make my decision off of the last 7 days, maybe last 7 days including today, to make those decisions. But something that's really useful is this compare feature. So you can click compare to the last. So let's say I just wanted to compare the last 7 days to the previous last 7 days. I can do that. And what happens is these columns here, you can actually expand them. And so you can click up here. So we can see that, for example, so when you click expand, you can see here that from the last 7 days to this 7 days, my ROAS has come down on these two campaigns. So that's obviously not a good thing. These are actually brand new, so they don't have anything to compare it to. But let's say maybe last 30 days, so we can see some more data. It's really useful to see kind of like the change over time. So maybe let's look at cost per landing page view. You can see here on this specific ABO campaign, I'm seeing a 30% increase in my cost per landing page view. That's something to note, like what's going on there. So maybe I'll come in, I'll take a look. Let's see, how's my cost per result. My CPA on both of these have gone up dramatically over the last 7 days. So that is something to look at, right? So this little compare feature is really useful. I highly recommend that you use it. Another good one is exporting your data in your ad account as a CSV or XLS. And you can actually upload your data for different time periods into, say, Claude, and have it analyze what's going on in your ad account. And I wouldn't say it's perfect, but it can really illuminate some things that you might have missed just by looking at the data yourself. So, I don't really make my decisions off of AI, obviously. I've been doing this for a very long time, and I've picked up on the patterns myself. But if you're newer, it can be useful to get some insights from Claude. I think Claude is the best one at this. They're coming out with, or they've integrated Manus now. It's worth taking a look at. I wouldn't base my entire strategy off of, say, AI tools like that, but I think that's where the future of this is going, and I think it can, be really useful in certain cases. So definitely consider exporting your data, uploading it into Claude, having it analyze, and have it spot trends for you. And it's what these large language models are best at. So, all right. Okay, those are some of the main features that I wanted to show you. A couple more. Make sure you go to Advertiser Settings, and you just make sure that everything in here is looking correct. So number one, it's going to be your creative features. These are these features that Meta will automatically opt you into, and it will spend up to 5% of your daily budget on basically training their algorithm to put all this AI nonsense on top of your ads. So you might see something that has a check, like this will be checked, and then there'll be another screen just below this that says like AI tests that you're opted into. One sec, I'm gonna find one that actually has it here. So you can see right here, this is my personal ad account. You can see I've unchecked this. I've already opted out of 13 different things here. But on, what day is this? June 9th, they opted me into translating media, and I don't even see where I can opt out of it. So just make sure that all these are unchecked for you. Very important. You see it says on, but I'm going to uncheck it there. There we go. Now it's off. So just be very careful with that. Inside of advertiser settings, it's important that you upload your audience segments. So inside of audience segments, inside of engaged audience, I will add my website visitors, and I will actually exclude purchasers. So I'll make a custom audience like this. I'll click website, next. I'll do all website visitors for the longest time period possible, and then I will exclude, let's say, purchasers. And then you can name it, 180-day website visitors, exclude purchasers, 180, something like that. And that is going to be probably the cleanest way to show Meta who your engaged audience are, but not your purchasers, not your existing customers. So I put those in here. And then in here, you'll actually put in your customers. So you can upload your Klaviyo lists. You can upload your Shopify purchase list. So if you go to website, you go here, you go to purchase, you can do 180 days. Right, and you could add that in there. It's a dynamic list. If you don't have a e-commerce store with dynamic audiences like that, you can just upload a CSV of all your customers, and that would suffice. But you would want to update those periodically, so it's fresh data. So that is audience segments. It's very important that you have that, so you can use the breakdown tool to see how much money is being spent on your existing customers, on your engaged audience, and on new audiences. Because these cold traffic campaigns, they do some level of retargeting automatically. So you want to make sure that you may want to do more retargeting or less retargeting, depending, or you may want to have some exclusions or stuff like that to try to reach net new people. Which reminds me, that's basically all I wanted to talk about in here. Back to the ads manager real quick. Let me turn off this compare feature. It's going to be compare attribution. Okay, so let's quickly talk about compare attribution. You click columns, compare attribution, and then here are the different attribution windows that Meta has and incremental attribution. So this is very important. The standard attribution window is 7-day click, 1-day view. So what does that mean? That means if somebody clicks on your ad within a 7-day period and then goes on to buy something from your website, that ad is going to get attributed credit for that sale. And if somebody sees your ad within 1 day, doesn't click it, but just sees it, and then goes on to buy something from your website, Meta will credit that ad, that sale. So that's the standard attribution window. 7-day click, 1-day view. So what happens if somebody clicks on your ad 8 days ago and then buys? That ad is not going to get credit. And Meta will credit the last ad that you actually clicked. Okay, so that is generally how attribution works. Now, it's really interesting to take a look at kind of how these ads are performing, and if you're getting a lot of, say, 1-day view attributions. Okay, why are 1-day view attributions important? Well, a lot of people argue that 1-day view attributions are Meta just taking credit for your sales. So it's maybe a warm person or somebody who was very likely to buy anyways. They just go ahead and flash the ad up. Meta knows they're about to buy. They flash the ad up, and then your ad gets credit for that ad when they buy, right? Was that incremental? Meaning, did them flashing the ad up just within that 24-hour period actually cause them to buy the product or service? Debatable. A lot of people say that no, Meta's just stealing credit for the sales. So that's really interesting to keep an eye on. And then also, 7-day clicked, it's more, we would consider that more of a higher intent action. They actually clicked on your ad and then they went on to buy. 1-day click is going to be probably the highest intent. That's like same day they clicked your ad, they bought, right? That's going to be the highest intent, most likely to be incremental. Okay, so there's a lot of debates on what you should do here. I think there's arguments for both sides. Personally, I like to use 7-day click, 1-day view. I am okay with accepting those 1-day view conversions because it is still data that my ad account is going to get, which is going to train my ad account. It's also going to train the ad set to find more and more people like them. So, in an environment where the ad account is really starving for data, I do like to give it as much data as possible. Now, that's not the best for every person. So if you really want to exclude 1-day view, that is perfectly reasonable to do. I just, in a lot of cases, I have repeat customers, or an ad account that really needs the data, so I will leave that one-day view in. However, I will use this feature that I'm about to show you to keep a close eye on those one-day view conversions, and if I see a lot of them, then I will take it out. So that is something to note. Some people do one-day click attribution, and that's going to be like every day is new. So the ad set is just optimizing on 24 hours worth of data. It's the shortest window, and that's tough. I feel like you're really putting the algorithm in a box and not giving it as much data context as you can when with a 7-day click, one-day view window, for example. So Meta is trying to solve this attribution problem because obviously if you just have one channel, you just have YouTube, or excuse me, you just have Facebook, then it's not that big of an issue. All your traffic's coming from one place. But the second that you start running organic, Google, YouTube, Snapchat, whatever, TikTok, then this becomes extremely confusing. Or Klaviyo, emails. It gets very confusing as to what actually was incremental, what caused these sales. So it's important that you keep an eye on this. And so Meta tried to solve this problem with incremental attribution. So it's their advanced attribution model that basically predicts whether the ad was incremental to the sale. Did the person buy because of the ad? Okay, the Meta ad. You can use this to see if your ad was incremental to the sale. Did the ad cause the person to buy? So what I like to do with this compare attribution is I'll do 7-day click, 1-day view. You can even do 1-day engaged view. I'm not super concerned about 28-day click. And I'll turn on incremental. And then we take a look to see here. What do we have? So I'm going to sort by amount spent. That's a habit, by the way. I really recommend that you do sort by amount spent at all times. We always want to be looking at what's spending the most in our ad account and then go down from there. But you can see here, on this specific campaign, we spent $3,300, 76 conversions, 22 of them were 1-day view conversions. I'm aware of this because we are doing a lot of email flows and stuff like that, so it's very possible that these were not incremental. But we also have 36 1-day click conversions, so that is something, those are very likely to be incremental, 54 7-day click conversions, and then 41 purchases that Meta considers to be incremental. So this is something that's very useful to just keep an eye on, like what's actually going on, like how many of these sales that Meta are taking credit for, how many of them actually contributed to the sale. Now this isn't perfect, but it's something to note, okay? And then, we can also start to break down on our audience segments and really start to get a little crazy with, what's going on in our ad account, just like really drill down on the data. So that's everything outside of the creation window that I wanted to show you. So that's basically everything in the Ads Manager section that I wanted to show you. Now I want to dive into a sales campaign and just walk through all the different settings. Most of this will apply to lead gen too, so if you're a lead gen person, feel free to stick around. It's very useful for you. So let's dive into it. I'm going to turn off all this stuff here. And let's create a sales campaign. So sales campaign, boom. Immediately it opens up this window, okay? So here, generally, what I'm doing is I am just naming the campaign the day it starts. So today's the 16th. I usually start the day after. And then I just name it something that is clear to me what it is we're testing, what it is we're doing in this campaign. Every campaign should have a purpose, okay? I'm turning off this Advantage Plus catalog. I'm not trying to do a catalog. I don't usually use this catalog feature at the campaign level. You can also turn it on at the ad level, and it's more flexible. It's easier to use in the ad level. That's just something to note here. In terms of the buying type, I don't really use reservation. I've never used it personally. I've always just used the auction. Cool. So now we're going to scroll down and look down to campaign budget versus ad set budget. I have videos that go into this in detail, so I'm not going to really talk about the nuances between these two, but basically at a very high level, if you have a campaign budget, you're setting the budget at the campaign level, and then Meta is going to basically decide how much each one of those ad sets is going to get in terms of the daily budget. on a daily basis. So all the ad sets are competing for spend. Meta is going to algorithmically choose which ad set gets that spend. Ad set budgets, you decide how much each ad set gets. So let's say if you had $100 a day at the campaign level and you had, say, 5 ad sets, those 5 ad sets are all fighting for that $100. If you had an ad set budget, then each of those 5 ad sets, you could set $50 for each, and they would each spend the $50 a day. So that's the difference there. So here's your campaign bid strategy. Generally, I would say 70% of my strategy is going to be highest volume or value. This is basically Meta automatically bidding for you in the auction. Whereas if you do cost per result goal, ROAS goal, or bid cap, those are going to be what we call manual bidding. These are great for scaling further. So if you find something that works, you can try to start using bid caps, cost caps, or even ROAS goal to just squeeze more juice out of what's working. But in most cases, I'm using highest volume. I don't necessarily feel the need to be day trading in my ad account every day, but this is something that I have been experimenting with, and I do think it's powerful. I do think it's extremely valid. A lot of people are like all in on the manual bidding stuff. I just don't find it to be as predictable and as stable as highest volume. So A/B test, I actually don't use this at all. I do all my tests manually. I just generally don't like to use it. I don't think it's that intuitive, and I just like to set up my tests in a more manual way using ABO, ad set budgets, or campaign budgets, different campaign per test, or ad set budgets, different ad set per test. Cool, so these are your audience segments that you set up earlier. And now let's talk about the ad set level. So in the ad set level, you have these new multiple settings here. I never really use these multiple ones. I want one person to go to one place to do one thing. When you start letting the algorithm decide if it's going to go to a website or a call, it's just a bit strange. So I'm always using single website. If I'm doing lead gen, I'm doing either instant forms or landing page. So either website or instant forms. Performance goal, we have maximum number of conversions and maximum value of conversions. These are the only two ones that that you should really be using. Maximum number of conversions, that's the algorithm's going to try to get you as many sales as possible. If you do maximum value, it's not going to try to get you as many sales as possible. It's going to try to get you the most valuable sales possible. So if you're an e-commerce brand, then bigger AOV orders basically. But generally it's trying to find you, what it says here is, will show your ads to people most likely to generate higher value for your business. So basically higher AOV. Here's your pixel. You choose your pixel here. Conversion event, I always choose purchase, or if I'm doing lead gen, I'm always doing like the deepest stage in the funnel as I can. If I'm not getting enough volume, I may move up the funnel sometimes, but generally I try not to. Cost per result goal, if you wanted to do that, you could here. It's not letting me now because I don't have it set right here. If I would have chosen this here, it would let me do it here. Here. Value rules, this is going to be basically it's a new feature, and it allows you to bid higher for certain demographics or age groups and stuff like that. So you can see I can choose age, gender, device, mobile operating system, location, or placement. And let's say, for example, I wanted to bid more on an older audience. I could do that, and then I can increase my bid by, say, 100%. And then now this ad set is going to target or bid higher for these age ranges. It's a useful thing. I personally like to do this now more than limiting my age range. I don't like to limit the algorithm that much these days. Attribution model, you can do standard or incremental. This is a brand new feature. It's been out for, 6 months or so. But basically, if you do incremental, this is going to try to, it's going to use a newer attribution model that its goal is to predict whether the ad causes the sale or not. So it's going to try to make the ads cause the sale and not take credit for any of these like one-day view conversions and stuff like that. So generally, 9 times out of 10, I'm using standard. Budget and schedule, generally best practice, set this up for a day in the future, start it early in the morning, local time for the ad account. but also keep in mind the time zone that you are working in. Audience, so notice we have Advantage Plus on here. You can also notice up here in the top right, since we're using campaign budget, the budget Advantage Plus setting is on. Audience, if you have this on, that means Advantage Plus audience is on. Placements is down here. We'll talk about that in a second. So, audience. Generally, I am not messing with this anymore. I used to a lot, but nowadays the algorithm's really, really good. It finds people based on your creative and your copy. So, what I like to do in most cases is just leave this completely alone. Just choose the right countries that I want to include, and then literally don't touch it at all. Like I don't do minimum age really. In some cases I might, but generally I don't. I don't really mess with this. Like if you have good ads that are very clear and specific, they will find the right people automatically. So I try not to mess with that. Now, if you want to do some exclusions, you can add that here. So for example, if you wanted to exclude purchasers, you could exclude them right here. Generally, I don't do that. It just really depends on the situation. If it's something that, like you're selling something that people can buy multiple times, or you want to have past customers comment on your ads, for example, I won't exclude them. And you'll notice that it doesn't really spend all that much, in most cases, towards your existing customers, unless you're doing some explicit retargeting. So this is Advantage Plus audience. So generally, it's just going to use AI to put the ad in front of the right person. Now, you can give it suggestions. So in detailed targeting, if you wanted to give it suggestions, you could. But again, this is a suggestion. So it's going to expand past whatever you put in here. Now, I personally don't use interests all that much with Advantage Plus on. Now, in some cases I do. Let's say if broad is not working, I might try this and throw some interest in there and try to point the algorithm in the right direction. I think that is useful, but it's not my go-to anymore. I rather just be more clear and specific in my creative. So when I do want to do interests, let's say broad is not working at all in an ad account. Maybe it's a brand new ad account. It can't find its way. Then I will do this. I'll click further limit the reach of my ads. I'll click further limit, continue. And then here is where I will actually limit the demographics a bit, uncheck this, and then now I have turned off Advantage Plus. So this is the old algorithm. It's going to treat your inputs in here much more like a parameter than say a suggestion. So it's not going to expand past what you put as much. So, when I use interests, generally I'm doing it like this. Now, I would say that this works, especially on smaller ad accounts, but ultimately I'm trying to move towards just not limiting the algorithm at all, just giving the full reign to the algorithm and let it do its thing. You can also add, if you wanted to do lookalikes in here, for example, you can add your lookalikes in here. I really only do this if broad is not working though. That's really it for the audience section. One last little bit is the only other time I turn off Advantage Plus audience is if I want to do retargeting. And so let's say I wanted to do retargeting. What we do is, we just set our country. We set it to just 18 to 65. This still looks like it's on for a second, but then I'm going to add my retargeting audiences. So let's just say I wanted to add my engagers, for example. You have to uncheck this, and then you'll see it turns off again. Advantage Plus is off, and then you have to make sure that it says narrow. If you have this used as a suggestion, it's going to expand past these warm audiences into cold traffic. So it's not really retargeting if you have this on, this checkbox. If this is on, you see it says broad, it's going to expand past. It's going to start here, but then go past. But if you uncheck it, it's truly going to just only show your ads to my Facebook engagers, followers, and whatever custom audiences you put in here. So that's really important to know. Generally, I'm not messing with genders that much unless it's super clear, only women buy it or only men buy it. Even still, I don't, because it will usually spend towards the right gender anyways. Languages, I'm generally not doing it if it's English, but if I'm doing other languages, I do put the specific language that I'm working in. Ads transparency you don't really have to worry about unless you're advertising in certain countries like Taiwan, I think, and some other countries you actually do have to put who the ads are coming from. So you click there and choose your business, or you might have to fill out some information and then put it there. Now placements, the only thing that I normally do Advantage Plus placements and I just leave it alone. But you can do the breakdown like I showed you earlier and see if there's a specific placement that's like giving you the best results. And then you can only do, say, Facebook and Instagram. You can exclude certain placements. Audience network is garbage. Generally, that's where all the bots live on Meta. So I try to exclude that whenever I can. So now, like I said, most of the time I just leave it on. However, if I notice that I'm getting bot traffic, I will exclude this one. I'm not really doing a lot of manual placements these days. Like I just find that Meta gives you a better CPM if you don't limit the algorithm. I just like to leave it all on, and I get the lowest CPM. CPM is your market rate, if you don't know. That's your market rate for advertising, your cost per 1,000 impressions or to get on 1,000 phones. So you can see here, it's starting to warn me. Now, that brings another good point. These recommendations, 99% of them don't really give you better results. Like it says, oh, you can get better results, 9.5% better results if you turn this on. It's not always the case, okay? So just follow your gut, follow what works, follow the data, and just ignore like literally all the recommendations in the ads manager. Ignore the meta reps. They don't know what they're talking about. Just be very careful and just follow your gut and the data, and you're gonna have a lot better time. So yeah, generally I'm not messing with any of this stuff, okay? I will do automatic placements and I will just kind of leave it at that. Just like that. All right, and then once I'm done here, I will just name the ad set exactly all the settings that I chose. So I know it's at a glance, it's very clear what it is. So, in this case, you can see, let's just say hypothetically I was optimizing for max value. It looks like I'm doing retargeting here. Super hypothetical example, I probably wouldn't do it like this, but just for the sake of this example, you can see I'm optimizing for maximum value, and I'm doing retargeting here. And then maybe I'll say Advantage Plus placements. This means middle of funnel retargeting. I'm basically just retargeting all my Facebook and Instagram engagers. All right, let's get to the ad level. This is the fun part. This is where the AI enhancements come in. Cool. So here you just choose your page, nice and easy. So create ad. This is 9 times out of 10 what I'm using, but you can also use existing posts, which is really nice. Notice I just unchecked multi-advertiser ads. That's just out of a habit. Essentially what this is if you've ever been scrolling on Instagram Reels, for example, you'll see like a block of 4 ads. That's going to be what that is. It's going to cram and crop your ad into the space with other ads that are of a similar business. Meta argues that you'll get in front of more high intent people that are looking at ads. I just don't like my ads getting cropped and put in the same space as another ad. I don't like roommates. I prefer to just have this off. So that's generally what I do. I uncheck that. So let's say we're using an existing post. You can come down here, select post, and then you can choose from your Facebook posts, your Instagram posts. This is what a lot of people refer to as like boosting posts, but this is like the more legit way of doing it, okay? You're actually running a sales campaign, but just using existing content from your Facebook or Instagram. Now, another thing to note, which is, I didn't mention, but it's very important, is partnership ads. So you can hire creators to like post content for your business and then, basically run their content from their Instagram or Facebook as ads. And the beauty of that is it will actually tap into the organic reach of that partner. So it is a super powerful thing. You can click select partnership here and you can invite people. So if you click add partnership up here, you can actually search like literally anybody on Instagram and then send them a request. It comes to them in their Instagram notifications. Once they accept, you can actually run ads as them or in partnership with them. What they need to do is they post a piece of content. You just grab the URL from that piece of content, either the Facebook post or the Instagram post, and then you can run it as an ad, and it will show, let's just for example, you can see it will look something like this. Hold on. It will look something like this, where it's like your business and another business are working together. And it has this like social proof aspect too, of it being two businesses working together on an ad. So that's something very important to know. Once you have a partnership in place, like they've accepted it, you click add code here, and then you just drop the URL in here of the post, and then it will populate and you can run it as an existing post. So that's basically all you need to know about using an existing post. Aside from that, you just, you pick the post. You got to pick a call to action button. So let's just say shop now. And then you put your URL in here. Couple other things. So when you use an existing post, you cannot edit the primary text in the ads manager. So actually you need to edit the post before you run it as an ad. So make sure that that is all in order before you do that. What else? Couple other things, browser add-ons. I don't really use this. I've messed with WhatsApp a little bit, but again, I want people to just take one action on my ad, so I don't like to distract them with other options. So I generally have this off. I don't use this. The promo stuff, I don't really use it that much. I don't like to use it. I think it's a bit distracting, and it's like a pop-up on the ad is not great. Advantage plus creative enhancements, I'll just save you the time and tell you, turn all this stuff off generally. These bottom two, maybe I'll keep them on, but a lot of the times I'm turning all of these off. I find them you lose control of the way your ad looks and feels, and it just generally does not help the performance from my experience. Creative testing, this is a brand new feature. I don't use it. Down here, I'll put my UTM parameters, which is how it adds basically a slug to the end of your URL. So if somebody clicks, you can choose the campaign, ad set, and ad ID here. These are dynamic, and they'll be updated by these the names of your campaign, ad set, and ad in the slug, so like where things are coming from. So this is very useful, good to know, good to use. That's everything for setting up a existing post. So now let's go to, let's go to creating an ad, and we'll wrap this video up here shortly. So here, manual upload is what you want to choose. If you're running catalog ads, or people often refer to them as DPAs or dynamic product catalogs, you can choose this and then just choose your catalog set, and then you can use those like carousels with your products inside. It's really useful for e-commerce. In this case, I don't have it. In this specific ad account, I don't have a catalog. So I'm just going to move to a different ad account here so you can see what it looks like for a dynamic product catalog, because that ad account didn't have a catalog. But if you choose catalog, so in this case I do have it turned on the campaign level. You can see I chose the catalog here, and then once I'm down here in the ad level, you can see I have chosen the website URL, and then here I have my bestseller product catalog, and you can see over on the right it's going to scroll through all the different products. Very useful feature. You can edit just one primary text here, call to action button, and you can see I have all my enhancements off. So dynamic product catalogs are very powerful. I highly recommend them for e-commerce. Yeah, let's continue on to a manual campaign, and we'll look at dynamic product catalogs later. So you have to set your URL here. This personalized destinations, click edit, turn all this crap off. It's not useful. Optimize website destination. This will send your traffic to random pages on your website. Don't recommend that. Shop. This is if you want to send people to basically like an Instagram or Facebook shop, instead of your website. they deprecated checkouts, or they took away the ability for people to check out recently on that, so I don't think that's worth it. Browser add-ons, I don't like that one either. This is just going to add some additional ways to contact you, like WhatsApp or like calls and stuff, so I don't recommend that either. Here's you're gonna set up your creative. So this page is like the bane of my existence. You got to turn this off. I don't like to use the promo codes that often. Sometimes I do for certain e-commerce, like if you're doing like a 10% email or something, but I don't know. I just rather people, I don't want Meta like doing a pop-up before people get to the website. Like it will load your website, but then have a pop-up in front of it. And it's kind of, I rather just use my native pop-up. Branding, this is for the AI features to create creatives for you based on like your branding. So I don't use this. Site links, this is a terrible feature in my opinion, and it will add little links below your ad, and it will go to different parts of your website. So maybe it'll send people to the privacy policy or to other places that you don't want to send people. So I generally like to turn this off. So if you want to turn everything off, you just got to come up to edit sources, take off the source URL, and then hit next. Then you can choose your creative. Make sure that you are paying attention to choosing original 1x1, vertical, or horizontal. This is going to be, square is going to be for your your feed placements on like the phone or Instagram. Vertical is going to be for like reels and stuff like that. And then horizontal is like the right panel on a desktop, your search results and stuff like that. So I like to make my creatives be 9x16 with all the content inside a 1x1 square. You do need to pay attention to the safe zones to make sure that your ad's not getting covered up by anything. So generally I leave it like this. Next, primary text, that's going to be the long text on your ad. Headline, that's going to be a short, punchy text. And then description, I usually do like urgency, scarcity, those types of things. Shop now is going to be your call to action button. I don't use any of these image generation. This video generation is literally brand new. It's still in beta, as you can see. I don't use it. Enhancements, I literally turn everything off. I don't recommend using most of them. I would say hover over the little eye and read them for yourselves and see what makes sense for you in your situation. Okay. So you can see up here, test is going to be at the top of the ad. The primary text is generally at the top of the ad on a Facebook feed, and the bottom main text on an Instagram post. Headline is going to be below an ad on Facebook, and it is kind of like the bolded text. On Instagram, it doesn't even show up. And description is going to be this bottom text underneath the bolded text on a Facebook post. On a Facebook ad. On Instagram, it doesn't even show up. So the main thing that I optimize for is like the first sentence of the primary text and the headline. Those are the main things that I care about. I try to make the first sentence of the primary text like a very punchy, attention-grabbing thing, and then I draw people in to the longer copy. I like to put my long copy in the primary text, short, punchy copy and headline, and then like just tags, like limited time offer or limited availability, those types of things. Enable text per person, I do try to turn this off, so you click try it out. Relevant comments, you have to turn off basically all of these in order to get enable text per person. What this does is it'll flip-flop your text, your primary text, your headline, your description dynamically, which is not smart if you are using, if you're writing your copy properly. If you're doing nice long form copy in the primary text, short punchy headline, and then tags in the description, you start flipping all that stuff around, you lose control of your ad. So I like to turn that off. You have to turn off all the enhancements in order to do that. Call to action button, I never use this A/B feature, and then the parameters. So that is basically everything I wanted to cover. This video is ended up being longer than I expected, but I hope that was valuable for you. There's obviously a lot going on inside the ads manager and it's always changing. So if you're looking for a place to stay on top of all this stuff, I recommend that you join my group. Thanks so much, and I'll see you in the next one. All right, you guys, that's it for today's video. If you got value from that, please drop a like. It really helps the algorithm, it helps me out. Send the video to somebody that you think would benefit from it, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.